I'm sorry, Chair Moss, we have quorum.
All right, well, it is. So hold on one second. I apologize. I am working from my phone, so it's a little bit challenging. So I'm going to go ahead and call to order the regular meeting of the Capital Projects and Construction Committee. So everyone are able, please, actually, I would ask, Member Lowe, would you be so kind as to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes, thank you. I'd be honored to. Please rise, face the flag, hand over your heart, ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Member Lowe. Okay, so before we get started with today's meeting, you need to have any special instructions for the virtual meeting?
Yes, we do, Chair Moss. Thank you for joining today's committee meeting. Please note that today's meeting is conducted via Zoom webinar. Members of the committee attending via Zoom are encouraged to raise their hand when they have a comment or would like to ask a question. Staff will call on the order of members requests are received. Members of the public can provide verbal public comments by raising their hand during the beginning of the agenda item that they would like to comment on. Please note that verbal public comments are limited to 3 minutes each, and that concludes my instructions.
Thank you very much, Janine. So at this time, that will bring us to roll call. Kevin, can you please call the roll?
Chair Moss, I will be calling making the roll call today.
Okay, thank you, Janine.
Chair Moss,
Present.
Vice Chair Hepburn. Absent. He notified he's running late. Member Reese. Absent.
I just promoted him, Janine. Chair Reese, are you available?
Member Reese.
I was transferred over to be a panelist. Thank you for that. I'm here.
Thank you. President Shevlin,
Here.
Member Lowe,
I'm present.
Member Sternquist,
Present.
Member Dang, absent. Member Jimenez, absent. Member Sandoval,
Here.
thank you. Supervisor Solis, Supervisor Solis, I think I saw her, Steph.
Yanin,
Yes.
this is Karina with Supervisor Solis's office. She's running a couple moments behind, but she's on the line. She just had to step away.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry,
Chair,
is that, okay,
should we continue and come back to her?
yes, that's fine. We'll go ahead and wait. And if she comes back on, you can just note that for the record. Same with Member Hepburn.
Okay, we'll do. We do have quorum.
Wonderful, thank you. Okay, so that will bring us to public comment. Do we have any public comment requests?
Yes, we do. We did receive one, but I do not see him in the meeting. Give me a moment, please, to double
Okay.
check.
Absolutely.
Yes, I see him.
And do you have the name of the individual?
Mr. Harps, if I'm not mistaken.
And are there specific instructions for him to be able to unmute himself so that he can make his comment?
He should be able to unmute himself now. He was promoted.
Okay, Mr. Harps, are you there, sir?
Hi, thank you all for giving me the opportunity to speak today. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm sorry if I did your name right. I apologize.
No worries. It's pars, kind of like golf.
Oh, parts. Got it. Got it. Okay. Welcome. You have 3 minutes, sir.
Thank you. Hello everyone. Name is Pars, P-A-R-S. I'm with U.S. Green Building Council, Los Angeles. Hope you're all having a safe experience during these storms. So basically, I just wanted to share some information with you guys about 2 initiatives. First is the Electrified Construction Coalition. And some of you guys may already know about this initiative. It involves multiple stakeholders with the intended goal of electrifying the construction sector within the greater LA metropolitan. There are solutions in the marketplace. A couple of weeks ago, CARB and Sunbelt Rentals had a zero emission equipment event. Anyways, we wanted to just promote that, and I've shared some of the links with your staff. We've had events in the past. Recently, we had Turner Construction provide a case study for a data center they're building with Meta using electrified construction equipment. We just want to raise awareness and also, ideally match solutions with stakeholders. And then we've also provided a survey. If you're in this space, we'd appreciate your feedback. And then next is the upcoming My Green Building Conference and Expo. It'll be in person at the Beehive south of downtown LA. This conference will, provide you exposure to education initiatives within the ACE industry. But more specifically, we're going to have electrified construction equipment for display. We're working with Volvo and Sunbelt Rentals and maybe even some more stakeholders with a collaboration around ACT conference. So hopefully, there'll be equipment that you can interact with, and we'd love to see you there. So that's just about it, and I appreciate your time.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. That's really interesting that you it's sort of a coincidence, but recently, because I am an operations manager for an event center, the prior storm system that we had, we lost a couple of our big light towers that we have out in some of our space. So I had to rent portable light towers from Sunbelt, and they actually had solar light towers available, which they worked amazingly. They were great. And I was a little concerned because I didn't know how well they would work. But before that, when we had to rent those, there were these great big diesel engines out there. They were loud. they were smelly. And so, you know, it would really sort of interfere with whatever the event was. And when we rented these solar light towers, they were fantastic. So just wanted to share that with you.
Incredible to hear it. I appreciate you sharing that with the rest of the people here.
Thank you for being here today. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Okay, so I believe, do we have any other public comments?
I do not see any more hands.
All right, then that will go ahead and bring us to the consent calendar. Let's see, did we have any public comment requests as to the consent calendar?
I'm so sorry for the
Okay.
presentation. We did not receive any written requests for the consent calendar. Please give me a moment to see if we have any hands. I do not see any hands.
All right, colleagues, do we have questions or comments as to items 4 through 12 on the consent calendar?
Move approval items 4 through 12 of our consent calendar. That's
Sandoval,
Shevlin.
second.
Thank you. Second.
Sandoval.
Okay, so we have a motion by President Shevlin and a second by Member Sandoval. With roll call, please.
Chair Moss,
Yes.
Vice Chair Hepburn, I see he just joined us.
Yes.
Welcome, Tim. Good to have you, sir.
Mhm.
Member Reese,
Yes.
President Shevlin,
Yes.
Member Lowe,
Yes.
Member Sternquist,
Yes.
Member Dang absent. Member Jimenez absent. Member Sandoval,
Yes.
members, I'm sorry, Supervisor Solis.
Okay, we'll check back. We'll continue to check back with the supervisor. I'm sure she'll jump on as soon as she's able.
Yes, and the motion passes.
All right, very good. So that will bring us to item number 13, action items. Do we have any requests for public comment as item number 13?
We did not receive any written requests.
All right, do we have well, let's check the line, see if anyone's on the line who'd like to speak.
Let me check any hands. I do not see any hands.
All right, so do we have a presentation on this item?
Yes, we do, Chair Moss.
Thank you. Good morning.
So I'll be, myself and Renee will be presenting this item. I'm going to go and get started. Chair Moss, Vice Chair Hepburn, and members of the committee. The staff is recommending that the committee authorize the executive director to award a construction contract to Sgvcog USA Civil West for the construction of the State Route 5760 Interchange Improvement Project in the amount of $266,900,000. Now, the invitation for bid was issued on October 18, 2022, and 5 bids were received. The lowest bidder was determined to be Sgvcog USA. Now, at this time, I'll turn it over to our senior project manager, Renee Cornell, to do an overview of the project and also the procedural determination of Sgvcog USA to be the lowest responsible bidder eligible for the award of the construction contract. So with that, Renee.
Very good. Thank you. Welcome, Renee.
Good afternoon, members of the committee. Next slide. So I'm sure I've said this a lot of times, but I'll go over it again. Here's a project overview of the 5760. On this map, on the west end, you see it's a 16 to 57, and when you get out of this confluence, it's the opposite. So that's one of the biggest reasons for this project is this choke point. I'll start from the top to the bottom how this project's going to work. In blue, it's structure construction, and if you zoom in, you can see there's 4 bridges. And later on during the presentation, you'll see some of the renderings which depict this in a better than I can describe it. Along with that is a lot of on and off ramp reconstruction, which is highlighted in orange. And on yellow is what we're doing to the actual physical freeway, which is modifications. And green is Grand Avenue, which will be completely reconstructed. Next slide. in this rendering, right now, if you're driving on the 60 heading towards Grand Avenue, you got to go 4 lanes and then you got to go into the confluence and then get off. It's one of the biggest reasons there's accidents in this area. Once the project is complete, there will be this new bridge that will, from the 60, will take you over the existing freeway, and you'll be able to get off on Grand Avenue, reducing the amount of traffic in this area and reducing the weaving. Next slide. Grand Avenue, with the current reconfiguration of the freeway and of the golf course, there will be new on and off ramps. Highlighted in orange will be a new Grand Avenue bridge. During construction, we will build a new bridge, demo half of the existing, and once the new one is complete, we can demo the old one and switch traffic completely to the new one. Traffic will not be interrupted during the construction of the new and removal of the old Grand Avenue bridge. Also, with the on and off ramps, we will continue to provide traffic. Next slide. Also, if you're on Grand Avenue and you want to stay on the 60, you got to do a lot of weaving. You got to go 4 lanes to the north to stay on the 60. One of the newest bridges that will be constructed is this bypass bridge, which is similar to what's on the other side of the freeway, where you can just stay on the same lane and that will take you to the 60. So no need to switch lanes as much. Next slide. This project has been in the works for a while. Back in 2013, the environmental impact report and the finding of no significant impacts was completed by Caltrans. In 2018, Metro initiated the revalidation. In 2019, the COG and Metro started their partnership. Since then, in 2020, we started completing design, working with the utility companies and acquiring right-of-way. In 2021, we did begin the golf course renovation project. Last year in 2022, a lot was accomplished. We were able to acquire all the right-of-way needed for the project. We were able to get the design completed along with Metro and approved by Caltrans. And we were able to release the project for bids. Bids were received at the end of December 9th, we were able to open them. And in 2023, here we are, we're ready to award. The golf course is scheduled for completion at the end of spring. And if approved today, we can start construction of the project in May of this year. Next slide. As Kevin mentioned, this project did go out to bid in October and bids were due on December 9th. We did receive 5 bids. Sgvcog USA Civil West was the lowest apparent bidder. We determined that their bid was complete. Once staff determined that their bid was complete, we released a notice of intent to award, and that opens the procedure for protest. And we did receive a protest from OHLA, which is the second lowest bidder. Next slide. It is our policy to conduct all protests and all awards in an open forum. We do encourage it. We do review every protest and we are responsive. Next slide. In their protest, OHLA, the second lowest responsive bidder, did two arguments. The first argument was that Sgvcog's bid included a material deviation that allowed them to gain a competitive advantage. And the second one is that Sgvcog's bid relied on a DBE subcontractor that is not NAISC certified to do the work. Next slide. We did review their protests. Our legal reviewed it as well. Sgvcog, the lowest apparent bidder, was also provided a chance to respond to the protest, and our legal determined that their first argument has no standing. Basically, their claim that they obtained a material deviation to their advantage. They provided no documentation. The argument was based upon their website, and they had not provided the type of work in the past. This is a low bid contract. It's not based on qualifications. So for that reason, that first argument is not valid. In addition, once Sgvcog was provided the response to provide backup, they did provide the backup, and they were able to prove that their subcontractor has performed the work in the past. Next slide. Their second argument is that one of the other subs for the foundation does not have an NISCS code to do the work. The subcontractor is TIPCO. They do foundation work. They do have an NISC code for building bridges. They don't have an NISC code for building a foundation. but it's the type of thing where you're allowed to do greater than that. So therefore, they are qualified to do the work. They are a DBE as well. Their DBE status is still current. So hypothetically, this argument is not a valid response as well. Next slide. Based on those two arguments that we provided OHLA, the second responsive bidder, a chance to come to this presentation and present their argument. We did provide a draft of what our response was, and they decided not to attend this hearing. Therefore, not only that, they withdrew their protest. So with that, we do recommend that we award the contract to Sgvcog USA Civil West. With that, I can answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Renee. Colleagues, do we have questions or comments on this item? Okay, I don't see any raised hands, so.
I see Ruth.
I just
Member-
want to,
Go ahead. Hi.
okay, thank you. I just want to say that nobody is more excited about this project than the city of Diamond Bar. You know, although the timeline, so and the city of industry, of course, but the timeline starts at 2013, but it seems like it's been like years even beyond that, right?
Yes.
But we're just so grateful for all of the partnership and the collaboration by local, county, state, and federal officials that have brought us to this point, and we're just really, really excited. So, Chair Moss, I'd like to make the motion to approve.
All right. Do we have any other comments or discussion, or do we have a second?
Vice Chair.
Sorry?
Second Hepburn.
Very good. So we have a motion by Member Lowe and a second by Member Hepburn. Can we have the roll call, please?
Yes. Chair Moss,
Yes.
Vice Chair Hepburn,
Yes.
Member Reese,
Yes.
President Shevlin,
Yes.
Member Lowe,
Yes.
Member Sternquist,
Yes.
Member Dang, absent. Member Jimenez, absent. Member Sandoval,
Yes.
Supervisor Solis, absent, and the
Okay.
motion passes.
Wonderful. I just want to add a little something to that as well. Member Lowe bringing up how excited Diamond Bar is and in industry as well. And as some of my colleagues here have been here for a long, long time and have seen this progress for all the years. And, we have advocated, we have traveled to Washington, DC, and we have applied for funding and just really worked our tails off to try to get more money for this project. And I know that probably every single one of you has driven down that strip and understands, the need to get this project done and to make it safer over there. So anyway, this is another step in the right direction, and I'm really, really excited about it. So thank you very much.
Chair Moss, I see a hand by Member Vice Chair Hepburn.
All right. Vice Chair Hepburn.
I just thank you, Chair. I just wanted to echo what your sentiments were as a person that travels that road every day. First of all, the work done previously to get us to this point is exceptional. I thank everyone for doing it, and the progress of the construction teams. Also, the management from the COG has done an exceptional job. The golf course is looking great every day. I see the progress more than most because I travel it every day, and I'm very, very happy about it. But also the traffic, it's one of the worst travel roads that I have to because it's crazy. And so this is going to make a huge difference for anyone that travels in that corridor, especially Diamond Bar, but all the people that travel through that corridor. It's going to be an exceptional project. And I'm very glad that it happened to this point and its funding's there. And just basically great job by all. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other raised hands?
I do not see any more hands.
Wonderful. Okay, so then that will bring us to item number 14. And do we have any public comment requests on this item, meeting?
We did not receive any written request. Please allow a moment for the public to see. I do not see any hands.
All right, very good. Do we have a presentation on this item?
Yes, we do.
Is Kevin or Marissa?
I'm going to start it. And I think that Brielle, our Regional Housing Trust Manager, is here. So she's going to get into the details, but I'm just going to give a little bit of background before she starts. So we had our giant contract. It was our item. This is much smaller, but it's equally exciting. And I think this highlights more than anything how unique the San Valley COG is compared to all other COGs in the entire state and probably the nation. Because we're one of the few COGs that has its own construction authority, but additionally, we have a regional housing trust that we started a few years ago. So this is a follow-up item and showing, I think, the coolest way of intersection of how our construction authority and our regional housing trust are working together to be able to develop more affordable housing in the region. So I know we have some new members here, so I want to just give a little bit of background of how we got to this today. But back in November, we had a closed session item where I was authorized to negotiate for this the sale of property at 405 South Delmar Avenue in San Gabriel. And that was part of our trench project that closed a few years ago. And so we've sold off all of those properties, but we had this one remaining property left, and there was interest by the city of San Gabriel to develop that project, that property into affordable housing. So we had been in negotiations with them, and as that process was ongoing, there was updates to the Surplus Land Act. So that kind of caused us to restart everything. And I think at first we were very kind of frustrated by the delays that occurred with that, but it turned into an amazing opportunity. So we were working with San Gabriel to try to make the sale of the property happen. And in the midst of having to go through the Surplus Land Act, we kind of came to the conclusion that it would actually make sense for the housing trust to purchase the land as opposed to the city of San Gabriel, because there's numerous reasons, but it's beneficial to both the COG and the housing trust to have it, that transaction occur that way. So city of San Gabriel was agreeable to that. So we've been moving forward, and we had the authorization from this board in November to start that work. As a reminder, this property, as being funded by federal funding, we had to sell it at fair market value. So one of the steps that we did between November and now was have some appraisals done. Brielle is going to go through the details of that, but we are now finally at the point where we can hopefully get the purchase and sale agreement approved. It's scheduled today at Capital Projects, and then the companion action will be at our Regional Housing Trust Board tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock. So again, it's a very exciting day. This has been years in the making, but this is, I think, something that really highlights the unique opportunity of both that the COG has to be able to really leverage everything that we're doing with our capital projects and our housing trust. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Brielle to go through the details of how we got to the numbers for the appraisal and the sale price.
Great, thank you, Marissa. So as Marissa mentioned, the previous action was to authorize the executive director to negotiate a purchase and sales agreement. If we could go to the next slide, the action here today is to authorize Board President Becky Shevlin to execute the purchase and sales agreement, which was included in the packet today. And the amount here is $4,105,000. If we could go to the next slide. So here we're going over a little bit of the history that Marissa mentioned. So the property was owned by the Sgvcog for the San Gabriel Valley Trench, and after the completion was no longer needed for that use. And authority for the sale of this parcel is delegated to the Capital Projects Committee. And it must be disposed of pursuant to the Surplus Land Act. So that process has been completed by the Sgvcog. And it requires that surplus land is first offered to developers for affordable housing. So this process that this project that we're proposing would meet that need. So previous negotiations were with the city of San Gabriel, and their selected developer Related to develop 60 units of affordable housing for families. By changing the purchaser of the property from the city to the trust, we will still support this goal of building those units for families. So the property must be sold at fair market value, and 2 appraisals were performed. So the parcel is currently zoned industrial, and An industrial and a residential appraisal were performed. So the first appraisal was for $4,105,000 as a residential appraisal, assuming that environmental mitigation would be required based on the previous use of the parcel. And a second appraisal as commercial came out at $4.4 million, assuming no environmental mitigation. And based on the previous use of the property, and then also the fact that this parcel will be used for affordable housing, the Sgvcog is able to consider both appraisals and select the one that most closely approximates fair market value. So staff is recommending in this case that that is the residential appraisal that includes the environmental mitigation we know will be required. So a purchase price or a sale price in this case of $4.105 million. And so with that, the trust will purchase the land with state earmark dollars. So this is something else that's really exciting. While we're here today talking about how this helps out Cpcc, I also wanted to share the other side. So the trust will be able to use state earmark dollars to leverage a state matching program, which is called Local Housing Trust Fund. And normally the state earmark dollars would not be a match. However, land is a match. So this purchase would allow the trust to leverage $4.105 million in matching funds to also support development of this affordable housing project. And on the Cpcc side and Sgvcog, sale of the property allows the COG to receive fair market value very quickly because the trust has these funds on hand. We don't have to do a long procurement process or even an extended escrow. So funds will be placed back into capital projects quickly. And if we could go to the next slide, I'll just go very briefly through the next steps. So as Marissa mentioned, the trust board will consider this purchase at its meeting tomorrow at 1 p.m. And if approved today by the committee and tomorrow by the trust board, staff will circulate the purchase and sales agreement for signature and also confirm title transfer to the housing trust. The housing trust will then work with Related to obtain project entitlements and the remaining funding to complete the project, including that matching opportunity that I mentioned. And in order to leverage LHTF, this has to occur by April of 2023. So approval today puts us on a great timeline to meet that goal. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brielle. Colleagues, questions or comments on this item? Looking for raised hands. I see Member Sternquist. I see you have your hand raised.
There we go. So excited. I mean, whenever you can leverage funds like this, it's a win-win actually for everyone involved, and just so appreciate the work from everyone to make this happen. Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay. Any other hands? I'm looking. I don't think I see everyone, and I see hands, but I don't see a name or anything. So if you can help me out there, Janine, if anybody sees, it's tough because I'm on my phone. I apologize.
I do not see any more hands.
Okay, very good. So if there's no more discussion on this item, can I have a motion to approve?
So
Motion
moved, Shevlin.
Second, Ruth Lowe.
All right, we have a motion by President Shevlin and a second by Member Lowe. We have the roll call, please.
Yes. Chair Moss,
Yes.
Vice Chair Hepburn,
Yes.
Member Reese. Member Reese,
Yes.
President Shevlin,
Yes.
Member Lowe,
Yes.
Member Sternquist,
Yes.
Member Dan absent, Member Jimenez absent, Member Sandoval,
Yes.
Supervisor Solis.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. And the motion passes.
All right, and I'd like to welcome Supervisor Solis. Do we want to go back and see if she enter her votes for the other items that she was here, or is that appropriate? How do we do that? David?
No, since the items have already been moved and approved, it would not be appropriate.
Okay. Okay, no problem. All right. Well, thank you. Then we will go ahead and move on to update item number 15. Do we have any public comment requests on this item?
We did not receive any written requests. Please allow it a moment while I check the public rating. I do not see any hands.
Okay, very good. Kevin, you're up, sir.
Yes, thank you, Chair Moss, Vice Chair Hepburn, and members of the committee. The director's monthly report is attached in the agenda for the committee's information. But aside from that, I also want to report the achievement of an important activity for the Fullerton project. Now, over the weekend, despite the rain, UP Railroad crew was able to successfully complete the cutover of the first shoe fly track. The completion of the cutovers for both shoe fly tracks are necessary for the construction of the UP Railroad Bridge. So it is a major milestone for the project. But with that, we'll open it up for questions or comments and ask that the report be received and filed.
Well, that is exceptional news. I mean, even without the rain, but all things considered, that is absolutely fantastic. That is great news, Kevin. Thank you for that. Colleagues, do we have any questions or comments for Kevin on his report? I'm not seeing anyone. Do you see anyone?
I do not see any hands.
All right, very good. So do we need a motion, or is it has been received and it will be filed? Are we?
That's
Yes.
it. Yeah.
All right, thank you, David. Okay, that will bring us on to item number 16. And Yanine, do we have any public comment requests on this item?
We did not receive any written requests. Please let me check right now. Members of the public. I do not see any hands.
Okay, very good. So Kevin, back to you, I believe, and also to your project managers.
Yes, for this item, our senior project managers, Renee Cornell and Gary Cardamone, will be providing a status update on active construction projects. So with that, I'll turn it over to Renee to start his update.
Wonderful, thank you. Renee, welcome back.
Thank you for having me back. So next slide, please. So progress continues on Diamond Bar Golf Course. We're finally adding the roofing to the new building. In this picture, we're adding the sheathing, so it's covered for the rain. Next slide. This is what the maintenance building looks like in the inside. Prior to adding the sheathing, there's a lot of work that goes on in the roof truss. It's hard to see, but we're installing straps, and there's a lot of welding and ongoing. It took a lot to finally start adding the sheathing to the roof. Next slide. This is what a hole looks like without the grass. So it's those shadows you see in there, that's where we put the drainage and the irrigation. So a lot of work has to go in before we finally start adding the seeds. And we're planning on adding the seeds, but if we would have put them in, the water would have washed them away. So we're just waiting for the rain to settle down before we start adding the seeds. For the greens, we can't bring in the rolls of turf and lay the grass. It needs to be special seeding, special grass. So it's a very articulate process. Next slide. And in other areas, there's a lot of rough grading going on. This is for the fairways. This is, I believe, where the ball flies over. And areas like this, we don't have to seed it. We can just bring in the rolls of grass, and it's a much simpler, much faster process. And with that, I can answer any questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Renee. Questions from anyone? All right, moving on to the next, or is that complete the project?
We have Gary, our senior project manager, Gary.
Okay, Gary, welcome.
Thank you, Chair Moss, members of the committee. I have a few photos taken in February from the Fairway Drive grade separation project I'd like to share with you. The first photo taken on February 15th. This is looking south, shows workers placing concrete for the median in Fairway Drive. You can see the substantially completed railroad bridge in the background. Next photo. This one's taken on February 16th, also looking south along Fairway. This shows workers finishing the recently placed concrete sidewalk between the completed sections of curb and gutter and the retaining wall on the west side of Fairway Drive. And the next photo, taken on February 21st. This was taken at the corner of Fairway Drive and Business Parkway, looking west. This shows the contractor and the LA County Traffic Signal Inspector verifying the locations of the traffic signal pole and service control box, soon to be installed at this particular location. So we continue to focus efforts on work in Fairway Drive as that remains the project's critical path. The work has been hampered by the inclement weather we've been receiving. And in spite of our efforts to protect the site from the rainfall, in the coming weeks, we'll see work begin on the roadway structural sections, including fine grading and lime treatment of the subgrade, lean concrete base material, followed by concrete pavement beginning sometime in late March. We're in the process of reviewing the impacts from these latest rain events and are hoping we can mitigate some of the delay and still substantially complete the project by June of this year. So unless there are any questions on Fairway Drive, we can move on to Fullerton Road grade separation.
All right, colleagues, any questions on Fairway Drive? Supervisor Solis.
Yes, I just wanted to ask, given the weather and all that, how's the traffic been around the project? How have we been able to do with that? Are there any issues?
Well, we do have the three legs of the intersection at Walnut and Fairway open. They've been open for quite some time. I have not heard of any complaints about traffic in the area. Obviously, when we open Fairway, hopefully in late May or early June, a lot of the choke points
Right.
particularly in the north-south direction,
Okay.
will be made much better. But I haven't heard of any complaints due to the weather or the construction.
Good, good. I haven't either. I'm just checking. Thank you. That's good. Thank you.
That just been like consistently rough everywhere, that there's not like anything focused in one area, everywhere. Because I'm in this area, and when I've been out with anyone, it just seems like it's kind of rough all over with this weather, but nothing specific I heard from any of our project sites either. So thank you, Supervisor.
And Supervisor, I will mention that we do have monthly calls with your staff to talk about Fullerton and Fairway. So, and we invite them, if at any time you get any sort of complaints about any of our projects, we welcome you to bring those to our attention, and we certainly will address them.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that.
So moving on to Fullerton. The following aerial photos were taken on February 13th at various locations within the project. This first photo is looking west at the location of the westerly cutover from the existing mainline track to the shoe fly. As you recall, and just as a reminder, the agency directed the contractor to accelerate the shoe fly work in order to meet UP's scheduled date of February 1st to perform the cutover work. Missing that cutover date would have resulted in an approximate 1-year delay to the project due to UP gangs being committed to other projects for the remainder of 2023. So the acceleration was actually very successful in that our work on the shoe fly was completed as scheduled. The cutover work, as Kevin mentioned, we're happy to report was completed this weekend in spite of the rain. So shoe fly track 1 is now operational. The second shoe fly cutover is scheduled for March 11th. Next photo, please, Janine. This photo is looking south towards the former Jack in the Box, and it shows the recently completed transition structure for a very large storm drain known as IPD 170 that was required to be rerouted in order to build the underpass. And the last photo, looking west at the intersection of Fullerton and Roland San Jose, where we have begun the reconstruction for the intersection improvements. You can see that we've lane restrictions in place and the closure of Fullerton through traffic north of the intersection. The latest schedule showing substantial completion of the project in April 2025, but we will be assessing the impacts of these recent weather-related delays and evaluating any opportunities to mitigate those delays to see if and how much that date has been impacted. That concludes my remarks. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much, Gary. All right, colleagues, do we have any questions or comments for Gary?
I'm just happy to see so much progress, you know. It's been a while. I haven't been on this meeting for some time, but I'm really happy to see the progress being made. Now that my district extends far out towards these areas, it looks really good now to actually see it in place. So thank you to the staff.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I'd like to second that. Great work, everybody, especially given, you know, the delays that you're probably going to experience with this weather, but it looks like everybody's powering through to get this done. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
All right, so if there's nothing further, then this is also a receive and file, I believe. And that will bring us to item number 17, which is the chair's report. And
Chair Moss, I have someone from the public, Ivan, with the hand.
All right.
I just don't know who he is.
Would you like to introduce yourself and give us your public comment?
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
And
excellent. My name is Ivan Hopkins. I am a commercial realtor and I work within this area. I unfortunately popped in a little late to see this screen and have interest with respect to properties along this corridor. And as I reviewed the information that was presented, I did not have or see a picture or image similar to this. And I'm wondering, is there within your documentation or the information that you provided, are there other images like this with respect to construction that is taking place that I can review, as well as just kind of the summary update of what was addressed along this this construction project? I apologize, I just popped in and saw that this area was being addressed.
okay, Kevin or David, would you be able to address this question?
Go ahead, David.
Well, no, I was just going to suggest that Ivan provide his contact information to Kevin.
Okay.
Sure. I mean, I think when I logged in to participate in the site, my email address was utilized, but I am glad to. How would you like me to provide that to Kevin?
Kevin, would you like to send it in the chat, or how would you like to do that?
Yeah, please go and put it in the chat.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ivan. Okay. All right. Do we have any other raised hands or anyone who would like to speak?
Madam Chair, is it appropriate for members to raise an issue? I mean, just that's appropriate. Is that okay? I just wanted to raise something that as a Metro board member, I know Director Tim Sandoval is on the line too. We are looking at trying to coordinate where agencies such as this one, Metro and the county have properties that are, available, that are not going to be used for any construction projects or may not be needed any longer, to try to get a report back on what those properties are, because there may be interest on the part of the county as well as Metro to acquire property to build out possibly some interim housing or some, I don't want to say necessarily shelter, but parking spaces. We're looking at really trying to expand our effort to try to provide assistance to the unhoused, and working with our cities. And of course, are looking at property that the county has, that Metro has, and want to ask if that's something that we can possibly come up with, the staff can come up with something that might be useful in our county-wide effort to address this issue.
Again, I'll go ahead and we'll hand this over to David or Kevin and see.
Sure, just for a point of clarification, Supervisor Solis, are you saying that the county and Metro would be interested in getting notice of surplus land that the COG has?
Yes, if it's, yes, and I know Director Tim Sandoval, we just had a big discussion at our last Metro meeting, and it's something that we're looking at. And the county has been doing some of that as well. But when it is not, if it's not going to be used for any purpose of the agency, obviously sometimes the county can take advantage of that. And I know in the past, my office has been looking at things of that nature, because we are looking to see how we can expand spaces for either interim housing or permanent housing, depending on where it's at, obviously. And we would never encroach on cities or anything like that, but it's just good to see if there are properties where they are, so we can coordinate better. And part of it really is to try to align with our Metro transit system, not just the rail, but also the bus line, and see where we can provide assistance in some way. So I can give you, I think, our motion and a background from Metro to share with you and the county on that.
Yeah, that would be great. So what we could do is just add the county and Metro to our contacts whenever we send out the surplus land notices. So if we could get contact information for Metro and the county. I know we probably send out notices to the county for park purposes, because they're but yes, not for these other purposes. So we could just add the two agencies onto our list.
Okay. Would we wouldn't need a motion or anything on that? I mean,
no, that's fine. We can just do that.
Okay. All right. I appreciate that. Thank you very much, General Counsel.
You're very welcome. And then I see a raised hand from Member Sandoval.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Chair Moss, and thank you, Supervisor Solis. I thought what I might do is to sort of share a more specific example that Supervisor Solis is raising based on the Metro Board action. Of course, the county is you take a project like the Gold Line, and in Pomona, the plan is to build a surface level parking lot. And so in partnership, this is all preliminary, is Pomona would like to work with Metro to look at actually developing could be an intergenerational housing project or a affordable housing project right next to the future Gold Line station at Pomona North. So there may be other properties, and certainly there are other properties throughout the system that we may be able to utilize for housing. Of course, we want to do this in partnership with the cities. Right. I think Supervisor Solis mentioned that we're not trying to impose anything, but we really want to look at surplus property that could be utilized to house people. And that's just one example for that we're looking to explore is in Pomona. So thank you, Chair Moss.
Thank you very much, Member Sandoval. All right, do we have any other discussion or question on this item or on this subject? Okay, I don't see any, so I'm going to go ahead and move on to my report. And so I am excited to announce that Metro recently informed us that they are recommending funding the full $5.976 million ATP Cycle 6 grant request that the COG submitted for the Pomona Safety Improvements Project under the EO component. The Sgag Regional Council will approve the recommendation in April, and then the California Transportation Committee will formally award the state's ATP Cycle 6 funding for all recommended projects under the MPO component at its June meeting. So I just want to express our gratitude and thanks to Metro, to Sgag, and to the CTC for their support. Thank you very much.
Good. Kudos.
For sure, great news. And if there, let's go to member comments. Members, do you have any announcements or comments that you would like to make at this time? Okay, I'm not seeing any. So I guess that this is appropriate to adjourn this meeting at this time, but I just want to, tell everybody, stay safe out there. Try to avoid getting out in this mess if you can at any cost, but and we look forward to seeing you all in person at the next meeting. And that's it for me today. This meeting is adjourned. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.